Good morning, guten Morgen. It's a joy to welcome all media present in the Gartenhalle in Karlsruhe for the third day of the 11th Assembly, and also all those who is able to follow us across the globe. And I heard also, when I was talking to some of the journalists, where to find the information about the program. I would highly recommend you to visit the WCC website, oikomene.org, plus download the Assembly app. And I heard that some of you have never heard about the app. And if you don't know where to start, please reach out to some of our WCC communication staff in this room after the press conference, and we are happy to guide you. The same with the team in the press center. So my name is Marianne, Editor Director of Communication, and I will be present during the press conference and support with questions. But I have also invited one of my other colleagues, Reverend Klaus Ried, to moderate the press conference. So I welcome you, Klaus, to take over. And
good morning, dear colleagues. First of all, a technical issue. Channel 8 for English, Channel 5 for German, Channel 4 for French, and Channel 3 for Spanish. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to welcome Archbishop Yevstrati of Chernihiv and Nishin from the Orthodox Church of Ukraine. And it's also a great pleasure and honor for me to welcome the General Secretary of KEK, Conference of European Churches, Dr. Jørgen Skov Sørensen from Denmark. We asked both our friends to talk about 3 minutes, and after that, you are free to ask questions. They will talk about that, what they did the last 2 hours in the plenary, talking about the novel of the Good Samaritan in Luke 10, God's compassionable love, which convinces boundaries and borders, calling us to care for the stranger. Please, Your Excellency.
First of all, thank you so much. Thank you for organizers for invitation, and thank you, dear colleagues, for honor to be with you today. Why I describe you colleagues? Because for last 20 years I am responsible for public relations and for public communications in our church, and I know well how it's important to be open to the society, to the media. And I would like to reduce my introductional remarks. Everything what I want to express, I told previously at the plenary, and you had the opportunity to listen, and you have opportunity to read the text. I would like just to remind some points. First of all, our wish, our desire as a church to be a full member of 2 very respective inter-Christian bodies, World Council of Churches and Conference of European Churches. This spring, right after the Russian atrocities in Bucha, we sent to office of WCC official application to be a full member of council, and just yesterday we present our official application to the president of KEK here, and I believe that we will have good results of our applications, because as I told during the plenary, it's impossible to continue such strange situation, which was for last decades, that was talking about Ukraine without direct representatives of Ukraine. Christian nation for more than 1,000 years with millions of believers. And another one important point, what I would like to emphasize, it is a question of support for Ukraine and Ukrainians, because war continued. And for me, as Ukrainian who live inside country which suffered by Russian atrocities every day, every hour and even every minute have a very high price. Time in Ukraine is not just a time. It's not just a weeks or days or hours, because every hour and every minute have a cost of human lives. I know it from my own experience, because city of Chernihiv was in Russian siege for 38 days. Every day was bombarded by bombs, shelled by missiles. 700 inhabitants died for this month of this March. Many buildings, flats are destroyed. And I can see every day the consequences of war. And for me, time is a little bit different. I think that for those who live and enjoy the peace. And I would like to ask you, everyone, to do as more as possible in different ways to help Ukraine and Ukrainian people to achieve the just and real peace, and with this peace to end this war. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Archbishop. I will just continue to Dr. Sørensen.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity to meet the international press also. It's exciting to be here, and it's an opportunity for me, of course, also to share some of my thoughts in a wider audience. Just a few reflections on the Europe plenary this morning. I think once again we experienced how moving, how touching it is to listen to the Ukrainian voices, also headed by my colleague on my right hand here, and to hear what is really the situation on the ground. I mentioned during my own intervention during the Europe plenary this morning, I mentioned the pre-assembly to this current assembly, the European pre-assembly that was organized by the Conference of European Churches back in February, the day after, in fact, the day after the invasion. On that occasion, we managed to get voices from also from Ukraine directly on our on the screen, online witnesses from what was happening. It was, and as I said in my intervention a few moments ago in the plenary hall, it was moving. It was, we were crying together listening to this. So always remember, and I think this has been said also by the Acting General Secretary Sauka of the World Council of Churches on several occasions over the last few days, always listen to the voices of the people who are impacted by what is happening on the ground. That goes for Ukraine, that goes for any part of the world. But again, today, it was very strongly emphasized also during the Europe plenary this morning. I was happy to hear voices both from church leadership and also from some of the young people that were present here. Secondly, I think it was probably not given enough attention, also because of time restrictions this morning. I would like to point to the efforts and the immediate responses that we have seen all over Europe from churches to the migration, the refugee situation in Europe. It's amazing to see what has happened, and it shows me that churches, as we knew, but as we can see again and again, churches is a strong grassroots network of people that can mobilize within hours when that is needed. When that is needed and when that is what is called for in churches. And we've seen churches, we've seen the member churches of KEK and other churches taking up this responsibility in a very concrete manner. This morning started out by a question by the moderator, Archbishop Bayreuth, saying, who is the Good Samaritan? The Good Samaritan is the man or the woman being there, catering for the refugees that we see in Europe today. That is the Good Samaritan. So that should be highlighted. And when the heading this morning was, what are the churches doing? What is the church's response? There are many responses from top church level and very down to the very grassroots level. But I think the grassroots level is the most significant because it is everywhere, and it takes care of the human beings that are in need, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from. And I think this is a sign of what kind of network, what kind of fellowship, mutuality we see in the church. So that should be highlighted also. Finally, I'd like to just say a very few words about an aspect which is less spectacular than what is happening on ground. And that's some of the work that has been done by the Conference of European Churches, whereas our member churches have been very active in addressing the refugee situation. KEK has been very active on the level of European institutions. We quite quickly after the invasion in February, we realized that many of the decision makers in Brussels, where Conference of European Churches is based, many decision makers, also civil servants at the European level, had no idea what kind of role religion is playing in the conflict in Ukraine. And for that reason, we managed to set up a number of workshops and webinars and meetings with individuals within our vast network in the European institutions in order for them to get to know what is actually the situation. What we see in Europe today is a vast expression of religious illiteracy amongst our decision makers. And what we're trying to encack is, in this conflict, but also in other contexts, is to mitigate that and to explain the role of religion in a conflict like this, which is to many Europeans today, I was alluding to that also in my presentation a few moments ago, to many Europeans today, religion doesn't play a role in Europe any longer, but it certainly does. And it's important to know that in order to address some of the issues and problems and challenges we see in a situation like this. So you could say from the grassroots to the church leaderships to the level of the Conference of European Churches as an umbrella organization, we form together an ecosystem, you could say, of advocacy and concrete diaconal work amongst refugees and addressing the situation in Ukraine as it is today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being so short. I have the first question from Benjamin Lasive. Yes, please.
Okay, there's a mic. Yeah, thank you very much, Benjamin Lasive, freelance journalist in Germany. A question to His Honor Archbishop Yevstrati. As far as we know, there is a Russian delegation as well present at this assembly. First question, is it okay that this delegation is present here, seen from your point of view? Second question, is there any dialogue ongoing between your delegation or the Ukrainians present here and this Russian group? Thank you very much.
Thank you for this question. I think it's one of the most spreaded question inside and outside. First of all, is not up to our side, side of Ukrainians, to decide about presence of Russian Orthodox Church here. They are members of WCC, and it is question, and it's up to WCC in generally to answer about their presence. But I really enjoyed that they must hear such words of truth, what we had heard from Federal President Steinmeier 2 days ago. And maybe such words and words of other representatives of different members of WCC create some steps from their side. We have no contacts with them because two reasons. If they want to say to Ukrainians, we are open to listen and to have discussion. But if they have only another one example of Kremlin propaganda, what we heard on daily basis from Russian media, from Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov and his press office, from Mr. Nebenza in Security Council of United Nations, we need no listen again and again the same words of lie and justification of war crimes. If they have another kind of words, Christian and open and real, we are open to meeting and discussing every time. I have no idea that they have will to interact with our side. I'd say, understand it's not problem that they are inside the one assembly. As Father Savka said at the beginning, we are gathered here not because we all agree, but because we disagree in some matters, and we gather together to discuss, to pray, to rethink, and to find the way to be much more united Christian family than we are before this assembly. If we take maybe a few steps forward after this assembly, I believe that it will be good fruits of our presence here.
Next question. Yes, please. Mike.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Donna from Christian Times from Hong Kong. I have one question. Today's plenary mostly focused on Ukrainian situation, but there are no Russian speakers to speak for their side. So in your opinion, why WCC will have such arrangement? Thank you.
I have no right to speak on behalf of WCC because we are not a member, we just observers of WCC, and we just, as I told, apply for full membership. But I think that since the end of World War II, globalized world not faced such challenge like full-scale war in Europe, where one side of war is a former superpower country with nuclear weapon, with the chair in Security Council of United Nations as a permanent member and with the right of veto. You know that no one country in the world, with the exception of Ukraine, refused to be a nuclear state. In Ukraine was the third biggest amount of a nuclear weapon after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And we reject, we give away this nuclear weapon, and we had assurance from international community. We had a Budapest memorandum that we will be protected from external aggression. And how to deal with the question that this or that country will have imagined to be a nuclear with a nuclear weapon, and if international community will say that we will protect you, you must not have nuclear bombs and missiles. And it's very easy to answer, are you protect Ukraine from Russian invasion? It's a question not about Russia and Ukraine, even not about Europe. It's a question about security of the whole world. And we understand if system of global security not appropriately works, where will be next war? In Asia? In Africa? In other corners of our world? You know better than me. Near your city and country is another one place of tensions. What will happen if there will start war? What will be with security of all? And I think is one of the proofs for WCC to emphasize on Ukraine, on Ukrainian issues, because if international community and especially Christian community don't find the appropriate words for these questions, how will we find the appropriate solutions for all other hard questions?
Thank you, Archbishop. Next one. Yes?
There are two questions to the Archbishop.
Please introduce yourself.
Also, I'm sorry, I'm Benedikt Schulz from the Deutschlandfunk, the German national broadcast. So, do you confirm that there is no actual dialogue between your Orthodox Church of Ukraine and the Moscow Patriarchate? So, have there been any attempts to establish a dialogue here in Karlsruhe from the one or the other side, from your church, from the Russian church, or from the WCC Central Committee? Do you know?
Thank you again for this question. I have my own experience for last 1.5 decade of different type of communication with different officials of Moscow Patriarchate, including former top Moscow Patriarchate diplomat Hilarion Alfeev personally. We try again and again to find the way to have some sort of communication, but it's not easy to establish dialogue with someone who totally reject your own right to exist. I think here in assembly of WCC, it's not understandable, but Russian Orthodox Church until now treat our church with millions of believers, with more than 7,000 of parishes, that we are not Christians, if we are even not baptized. They would like interact with anyone here, but not with us, because no one else is a challenge for their imperial idea of restoration of great holy Russia, as we are. As I said, we are open to dialogue, but not to listen again and again the Russian propaganda. And unfortunately, I saw no signs from Russian side that they are prepared to have a dialogue. I would like to express the example that in September of 2014, with the help of Norwegian Bible Society, was organized conference, 2 days conference between Russian and Ukrainian religious leaders, different religious leaders, in Oslo. And we're talking about our relationship between Russia and Ukraine, and so on. Russian Orthodox Church not presented there. There was different Protestant leaders, one representative of Muslim community and Jewish community. And I remember that it was a fruitful meeting, and we agreed that we must have follow-up. And then, a few months ago, we had an informal meeting in Wuppertal here in Germany with aim to prepare next conference. But it has never happened. You must understand that Russia is not free country. Russian Orthodox Church especially is as a legal entity, as a governing body, a patriarchy, is on totally control and pressure of Russian government. And if Russian government allowed them to have conversation with our church, they will meet with us. If not, not. It's a problem.
Thank you. There's no time anymore. I have only for 2 questions anymore. We have to finish at 12 sharp. The colleague in the last row and Jan-Dirk Herbermann. And then we have, sorry for that, to close.
Thank you. This is Rainer Bingener from the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. I have a question to the Archbishop. The conflict between your church and the Ukrainian Orthodox Church was mentioned on the panel. Could you please explain your perspective on the background of this conflict, and do you see any form of dialogue with the Ukrainian Orthodox Church here in Karlsruhe?
Thank you so much. I know personally Professor Bortnik, who is a lay person from Ukrainian Orthodox Church or Moscow Patriarchate in Ukraine for many years. Until now, I have no idea how official is their status, because it's not decision of their primate, Metropolitan Onufri, to send representatives here, because he is strongly opposed general idea of ecumenism and opposed against WCC particularly. It's one part of my answer. It's a problem, because I am appointed by a primate and synod of our church, and I represent not myself, but church as well. Another one point is that we as a church many times told to our brothers that we are ready immediately have conversations, meetings, started dialogue with no one precondition. From white list, sit one in front other and talk and listen. Until now, we have no appropriate response from their side. We had official document published by their press office that they have 3 preconditions. First one, that we, Orthodox Church of Ukraine, must agree that we are not autocephalous local church. Next one, that we must agree that we are not ordained bishops and priests. And third, we must agree that they are full right to decide in questions when a particular community would like to change subordination from one church to another. And third one is the biggest question for them. You must know that before the start of great Putin's aggression in Ukraine, according social service, 38% of entire Ukrainian population belong to Ukrainian Church, Orthodox Church of Ukraine, our church. And around 15% belong to Moscow Patriarchate in Ukraine, Ukrainian Orthodox Church. Last July was other publication of fresh data. Our church enjoys support of 54% of entire Ukrainian population, and Moscow Patriarchate in Ukraine only 4%. And because ordinary people leave this jurisdiction, leave this subordination, the process of transferring of particular parishes, particular congregations follow up. We do everything to protect rights and for freedom of religion and belief for anyone. And decision is up to every particular parish. If only General Assembly of members of parish vote 2/3 or more, this parish decide to leave one jurisdiction and join another, peacefully and according Ukrainian law. But unfortunately, Moscow Patriarchate every time tried to present this situation as a scissoring of the church, violence of their rights, and so on and so on. We are totally open to discuss with anyone, including them, their side, about procedures, about rights, about everything. But unfortunately, we, from time to time, repeatedly just face it with accusation, but don't see the will to resolve the problem.
Habermann?
Yes, good morning. Question to the Archbishop. The Russian Orthodox Church is by far the single biggest church in the WCC. Are you aware of any meaningful opposition or resistance inside the Russian Orthodox Church or the leadership of the Russian Orthodox Church against the war in your country? Many thanks.
It's a very pity to say and see that no one ruling bishop of Russian Orthodox Church around the globe, no one, express his objections against Putin's war on Ukraine. One former archbishop from Belarus, who is really persecuted by Lukashenko's regime, as a private person, he expressed. Metropolitan in Lithuania of Moscow Patriarchate on next week after the aggression issued one statement, but then he turned to official position of Moscow Patriarchate. I believe that inside Russian Orthodox Church is a number of people who really don't share official propaganda and official attitude to war. And maybe some hierarchs and priests, and President Steinmeier mentioned these voices, but we unfortunately don't see any kind of real resistance to such aggressive and unjustified behavior of Russia in Ukraine. You told about the greatness of Russian Orthodox Church, but your dear colleagues must account that from Soviet time, around 40% of entire church network of Moscow Patriarchate, parishes, monasteries, other church institutions, and believers was and is in Ukraine. Without control over Ukraine, Russian Orthodox Church will lose at least 1/3 of their greatness. And it is a proof, it is a ground why they fight against our existence and our right to be separate, to be a free, equal local Orthodox Church, because they will lose their greatness, and they will lose their position as one of the biggest or even biggest Orthodox Church in the world. But we believe that we, as Orthodox Church of Ukraine, we bring a balance, real balance to the Orthodoxy world. Because it is like this contest between Orthodoxy, emphasized on contemporary world and future, and Patriarch Bartholomew of Constantinople is a representative figure of this type of orthodoxy, contemporary and open to the future, and medieval imperial orthodoxy. And Patriarch Kirill and Moscow Patriarchate officially represent this type of behavior and thinking. And we must return orthodoxy to much more Christian and open way of life and thinking than Moscow tried to do, and reverse.
I would like to thank both of you to be prepared for questions.
I'm so sorry that Dr. Jorgen have no question. Maybe somebody have a question to him.
I started out saying that listening to the voices from Ukraine is of utmost significance, and I'm happy that everyone heard that message this morning. So I think it's only fair that we've been listening to you, Archbishop. I have no further comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thank you, dear colleagues, and may God bless all.
Thank you very much for taking the time in the midst of a very busy day. And we know that those who have been following online, they had also other questions, not necessarily related to the panel of today. And we are inviting all journalists to send requests for interviews. I have heard questions. It's possible to also have an interview with the Russian Orthodox delegation, of course, if they are available. Send a question, or if you want to talk to a delegation for Cameroon or from Sweden or anywhere in the world, please send a request and we will handle it day by day. That's important to keep in mind. There is also a question, when do we know more about statements? We have heard an update yesterday in the plenary, and if you follow WCC News, you have all the titles of the first draft of the statements already published yesterday evening, and it will be a second presentation in plenary from 3 o'clock today. So stay tuned either online or in the plenary. And of course, welcome back at 3:30 for a thematic press briefing on care of creation. But then we have our meeting in Press Center on the 19th floor, so you need your press badge to get inside. And of course, tomorrow, same place, same time, 11:15, the press conference, both on site and online. So thank you very much for us today.